5-star hotel here, and above, condominiums. About 472 that are considered luxury condominiums. Chicago's Trump International Hotel and Tower. Not an architectural tour, but the next building ahead right is the American Medical Association building. It's called the AMA Plaza. It is a classic example of a style of architecture called modernist, or the international style. In fact, this is the last building ever designed by an architect by the name of Mies van der Rohe. Van der Rohe influenced a generation of architects. 50s, 60s, into the 70s. Less is more, that's the motto. No non-essential decor in a modernist building. Very much to its contrary, though, Chicago's Marina Towers, also known as Marina City. These two 60-story concrete towers are actually the very first residential properties ever built on the river. They're from the early 1960s. 20 stories of parking, 40 stories condominiums. The architect who designed it, Bertrand Goldberg, called it a city within a city. Today, Chicago's House of Blues, right here on Dearborn Street to the right, is part of the Marina City complex. All of the downtown bridges open, by the way. There are huge concrete counterweights unseen on each side. When they open, the weights go down, and the bridges open in the center. And have you seen the bridges open? They do open in June, but only on Wednesday and Saturday mornings, as this time of year they accommodate the sailboats and tall ships heading to the lakefront. After June, you won't get in and out here. You'll stay out on the lakefront because the bridges just don't open, and only on a limited basis. Well, what is obvious to you, when the weather cooperates, there's a number of cafes and restaurants that embrace the Chicago River. Major construction on the Chicago River itself. I'll tell you about the project on the way back. And they're also building here in town. You know, as many as 30 high-rise buildings are currently under construction. We'll be able to see a few of the new ones right here on the river, just up ahead. Now, the largest building in the world in 1930 is ahead right. We're going to be passing the Merchandise Mart of Chicago. The style of the building is classic Art Deco. 4 million square feet, 2 city blocks sitting on 5 acres. Today you would find hundreds of showrooms displaying furniture and apparel. There are corporate offices. In fact, the top 4 floors today are home to Motorola. Have you noticed the heads or busts there? You are simply looking at large Pez dispensers. Of course not. Are you familiar with the famous merchants like Marshall Field, Montgomery Ward, Edward Filene, Woolworth, a few presidents of Sears? That's a landmark building also in Chicago, the Merchandise Mart. Let me point out a little piece of land called Wolf Point. That's to your right. What's happening here today? 3 skyscraper tall buildings are being built. In fact, the first of the 3 is complete. Ahead right, that is the West Tower. It's occupied, it's all rental, it's residential. And how about this? 2 more are being built, and the 2 new ones will both be taller than the West Tower, right here. And as we turn south, slightly ahead right, a brand new office building called River Point. The folks who will work there are going to have a great view looking down the main branch of the river. It's not complete. What you may notice, look at the river banks. This is all new. Much more pedestrian friendly as we go forward. Now, modern technology allows the city's L trains to pretty much silently pass unnoticed. Not an architectural tour, but check this out. On the right, the space available was limited, right? You have the river here, railroad on the other side. Look what they did. The footprint of the building, that's the term, very narrow as you see, but when it gets to 5 or 6 stories, dramatically flaring out on both sides. The building will carry to 53 stories. Nice piece of architecture on the part of James Getch and Associates, Chicago architects. That will also be office space. The international headquarters for Boeing aircraft on your right. The Boeing firm actually relocated to Chicago about 12 years ago, previously Seattle. Are you visiting Chicago? How lucky can you get? Look at the other corner of the building here. The Boeing store. Able to meet all your important Boeing needs. We have an English-speaking crowd, don't we? The oldest bridge. We pass on there. This is Washington Boulevard. It's 103 years old. I don't know if you knew this. We're heading south, right? If Captain Nico, that's our captain, if he didn't turn around, you know, we could carry all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, the port of Nolens. That's very tempting, especially when we've had chilly days, but we simply don't have enough beer to get down there. Now, all of the buildings we're passing on the west side of the river, and that is your right. They're all built over railroad tracks. Amtrak, that is the national rail service in the U.S. Metra, the local commuter lines, and we shouldn't get a glimpse of those trains as they rumble underneath the buildings on the west side of the river. There's a real estate adage, by the way, when you own the land, you own it all the way up to heaven and down to hell. What happened here? These buildings we're passing, you know, they have to pay the railroad a lease fee, rent, because these buildings are built on air rights above railroad property. Now this area today is all commercial office space as we continue south, but in a moment our captain will turn, and when we turn, you're going to have a very nice straight up and down view of the city's tallest building. It is originally the Sears Tower. It is officially the Willis Tower. When we turn and look up, I always suggest we give them a smile, because you can go up to the observation deck of the Willis Tower, and then, maybe some of you have done it, step outside into one of 4 glass boxes. You're looking straight down, and they're often taking our pictures, so in a moment we'll turn and check that out. Where are you guys from here? You're from Ireland. That's from Ireland. You too? No. Germany. Jawohl. Yeah. How far did anybody from the States decide to come for a ride? Where are you from? Where? New York. I apologize, I've been speaking way too fast. Hey guys, check it out. Here you go. 110 stories tall, 1,454 feet. That's 450 meters for most of the world. There you go. By the way, when completed in 1974, It was the tallest building in the world. And it remained tallest for 24 years. It's the tallest in Chicago. The largest tenant in this building is Chicago-based United Airlines. About 4,000 employees for United work here. Most all of you know Sears, the retailer, but they've been gone for, well over 20 years. Who in the world is Willis? You ever been in New Orleans? The girl wants us to throw beads. You know how that works? I caught a glimpse. Never mind. Okay. Willis is a British insurance firm. Now, they moved into the building in 2009. They didn't buy it. They've never owned it. They only leased 3%, but they acquired the naming rights. The building did sell, by the way, last summer. A New York investment firm by the name of Blackstone paid $1.3 billion for what is still the Willis Tower. Let me mention something to you guys, a little off script, if you will. To your left, this is called West Loop today. Let me tell you something. You know, I grew up in Chicago, and when I was a kid, albeit a while back, your mother said, "Don't you come down here." Are you kidding? West Loop? Gin joints, flop houses, broken dreams. Now today, of course, along the river, this is all the commercial area, but you go west a bit, a lot of happening restaurants here. Loft space, townhomes, condos, West Loop. Kind of the place to be. What a change. Wow. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange Center. Now, they're not in this building anymore, the Merc. They're very much still in business. They're a little bit east of us. Chicago Board of Trade Complex. Mixed office space in the 1980s building here on your right. It's 1920 because when they designed the Civic Opera building on your right, what they actually built was a 45-story office building that actually surrounds and has somewhat financially supported the opera. What a beautiful opera company since 1959. Long live passion. That is the theme and motto of the lyric. The lyric is a cultural treasure in Chicago, without question. Now, the season ended here a few weeks ago. Performances begin again in September. The Lyric, Opera of Chicago. By the way, anybody know where the word Chicago comes from? The actual origin of that word? Anybody want to give it a try? Young man, you got it? What did he say? Yeah, that's good. He's correct. That's a Native American word, obviously. We used to say Indian word, more appropriate Native American. How about smelly wild onions or skunk grass? That is said to be the actual translation. Now, apparently, the very pungent, smelly plants were growing wild on riverbanks, and when we became a city, 1837, city fathers adopt the name. Today, City of Chicago is home to 2,700,000. That's in the city, the metropolitan area. City and suburbs, just under 10 million people in the community. Huh? All right, Captain's going to take us back down the main branch of the river. Now, if you ask a Chicagoan, what's your favorite building? That is subjective. Everybody has an opinion, but the building on your right is very much a favorite with many. Notice some of its features. The curve in the building, well, it certainly matches the natural bend in the river. The two shades of green on what is called the glass curtain wall, well, it reflects the green of the river. and creates a pretty neat reflection of surrounding properties. This office building here is known largely by its address, 333 West Wacker, and the office building has been here since 1983. And many Chicagoans consider it a favorite. But major work is going on. On your right, you see some people strolling up there. What you're looking at is the double-deck street in town known as Wacker Drive. When first built, their intent was, in fact, the ability for pedestrians to stroll the river on Upper Wacker. Traffic and deliveries could be made below. In case you see it on the exam,